I'm just so angry that somebody could disrespect me like that without caring, without acknowledging that what they're doing is wrong, and without acknowledging the pain that they've caused.
It's okay, I know, honey.
And without acknowledging my life, my humanity, the things that he's taken away from me.
What is your family history and relationship with St. Paul's?
It goes back to when my husband first attended in the late 70s. He's a graduate in 1982, and they started the Japanese program for him. My husband is half Japanese. Then fast forward, we have 3 daughters, and Chessy's eldest sister, Lucy, applied. We only let her apply to one school because we had such faith in this community that had supported my husband's education.
You were a freshman, and you had a year there. And was your year enjoyable, or could you already sense this toxic culture?
I was aware of the senior salute tradition. My sister told me about it I think her first year, and when she was telling me about the hookup culture at St. Paul's. And I remember saying to her, this doesn't sound right. As her younger sister, I said, be careful. And of course she was like, I'm careful, I can protect myself.
For those of us who don't know, what is the senior salute?
The senior salute was a way for senior upperclassmen to go after their black horses, they called it. People that they didn't want other people to know that they wanted to hook up with, but that they wanted to by the time they graduated. A group of boys on campus were in competition with each other to see how many girls that they could slay, as they put it. And they made a big long list of a bunch of girls' names. It took a lot of tears to finally be able to tell somebody I cared about, and to tell my mom, to talk to my sister finally, and to be able to talk to a police officer eventually in the hospital. And I wanted to make sure that she knew everything. Too many people blame survivors for not fighting back when they're overpowered in a situation like this. Nobody ever told me how to get out of a situation where somebody's pressuring you into doing something you don't want to do. So that's something that I now want to educate people on, is that freezing is a natural response of a person's body to trauma. It's not a survivor's fault when they freeze and can't do anything. It's not a survivor's job to protect themselves against rape. It's the perpetrator's job not to rape. By coming out on the Today Show, I wanted to put a face and a name to the anonymous victim. I think people, my classmates, decided that it would be safer socially to stay away from me and to give me space. Some nights I felt so scared that they were gonna retaliate or try to hurt me. I don't know. I would stick my red high-heeled door stopper underneath my door, because the doors in the dorms don't have locks, and I would stick it underneath my door to make sure that nobody could get in my room.
It was a huge leap of faith to let Chessy go back, but it was a way to reclaim some control over her story, her life. And so my husband and I would take turns going up every other week to see Chessy at school. and just to make sure she was supported.
Was there not an incident where the male students actually made jokes about the trial?
One day in the morning announcements, something that teachers and the head of the school have to approve before the kids say these things. Two senior boys went up and they made a joke about the age of consent, saying that they weren't allowed to even look at the younger underformers anymore. And everybody laughed, but nobody did anything. At the end of that service, I glared down the reverends in the eyes for them letting these kids disrespect a place of faith, and I stomped into my room bawling and called my mom and said, "I can't do this anymore. I'm coming home. This place is terrible and toxic for me. I can't be here." When I was standing there in the courtroom and heard the first guilty from the jury, I felt like they believed me. I fell into my parents' arms and was like, oh my God, they believe me. Because I was just so scared that he would get away with everything that he did.
The criminal process is not victim friendly. And while we now realize we were very, very lucky with the way the prosecutor treated Chessy and her case and the detectives and the police, it was a really tough process.
Why do you think it's so important for women and girls to speak out about this?
So it doesn't keep happening. We have a right to a safe education. We have a right to be the people we're meant to be. My daughters, my 3 daughters, have the right to assume a place in the world that reflects all their skills and all their gifts and blessings.
Sexual assault is a crime of power and control. And so it's so important to make sure that a survivor has the power and control as to how they want to proceed after an assault. By coming out on the Today Show for the first time in public, I wanted to put a face and a name to the anonymous victim. I just can't imagine how scary it is for other people to have to do this alone, and I don't want anybody else to be alone anymore. I don't. I was lucky that that was a great experience because that's helped me get to where I am today. Being called an advocate and being called a survivor was so empowering to me. And I finally felt like I could do this. I could be a voice for the voiceless.
You have a book coming out, I Have the Right To.
Yes, my book is called I Have the Right To, a high school survivor's story of sexual assault, justice, and hope. There's so many different ways for survivors to reclaim their stories, reclaim their sexuality, reclaim themselves. And speaking out publicly is sometimes a tough route to do it. For as many women who feel like they can and are empowered enough to speak out and name what's happened to them, I think that that is what we need to change the culture. We have to deal with this problem head on. It's not something that women and girls and boys should brush under the rug, just shake it off, it's fine, you're fine. This is a big deal, and I think it's time for people in power and people everywhere to acknowledge that and to do something about it. Nobody deserves to be a victim of sexual assault, and nobody deserves to feel alone.